Give you a second. Hopefully we get live. Okay. We are live. Good evening, everyone. Tonight we have a very special guest. This is our new Wednesday night segment where we talk about success with great people in our community. Tonight we have someone who is, of course, great in his trade, in his career, but he's also someone amazing, to me and to our community, to Netzach especially, and for Israel. Tonight we have Dr. Simon P. Etehad here with us.
Good evening to you all.
And we're going to talk a little bit about, success, some ideas to hopefully give us some inspiration, give us some plans, and give us, some tips on hopefully how we could improve ourselves a little bit. Tonight's guest is going to give us his own deep ideas and topics and thoughts. So please bear with us. As usual, we try to keep it 10 to 15 minutes. First question for our dear guest is, we all strive for success in any mission that we choose. And Baruch Hashem, you chose what you're doing right now in life, and that is being a lawyer. Let me ask you this. What gives you that motivation for success in life? What gives you that motivation to do what you do? What gives you that motivation to be the best lawyer, to be the best Simon that we know?
First of all, Rabbi, thank you for your time. I love you more, and I love your father, and I truly respect both of you guys. I think my first inclination is to first define success. We all define success differently. Some people define it by the amount of wealth, money, and I do not dismiss that. I think money, wealth, those things are important because you can help others make this place a better society. I define success by the way I am able to influence people, by the way I'm able to help other people, how I can leave people better than I found them. And I think that drives, and that was created and installed within me at the age of, I think, 12 and a half. I think I was telling you, when I fell out of a 9th floor building.
I don't think everyone knows that story.
Okay. So I'll tell you the story. I was raised by a very passionately father who loved the state of Israel. We were raised in Iran, and my dad was a very loyal citizen. And we moved to Israel. Upon our arrival to Israel, we had gone to visit my aunt, and I was on the balcony. I fell out of a 9th floor building at the age of 12 and a half. And within that moment, when I survived that fall, I think when I came back from the hospital, I started thinking about life, and I started wondering, why am I here? The next question was...
You call that the moment of epiphany, if you want to call it?
Sure. Who am I, and why am I here, and how is it that I can better my whole life, other people's life? I believe that moment that I didn't die for a reason, and that was the moment that is the greatest moment that I've had, and with it came the idea of if I didn't die, if Hashem let me live a life, how do I make my environment a better place, and how do I influence society in a good way, in a positive way? And that was the moment. And when you talk about success, and again, I'm not dismissing money and wealth in no way. I believe money and wealth are very important, and they could help other people at the same time and help you. But success to me has a wider definition of being able to influence society, leave people better off. And I've had that. Being the president of Netzach, vice president of FIDF, helping Jews, non-Jews, Muslim, Christians, Armenians, whatever I've done in my life in order to better the environment, that to me is success.
Wow. By the way, for those who don't know Simon, anytime you see an Israeli soldier in Los Angeles, it's probably because of Simon, just to let you know. Second question. Was there a time you thought, it's time to give up? It's too hard. They say the going gets tough, and sometimes you want to throw the towel in. Have you ever hit that moment in life where it's like you feel, that's it, I can't go on anymore? And if you did, what did you do to overcome it? What did you do to say, that's it? No, I'm not giving in. I'm going to give a lot more than what I have right now. I'm going to make sure to be ahead of myself.
I've had that moment. I believe that moment happened about 18 years ago. It was my first jury trial in Santa Monica court. And I lost that case. I lost it not because of my fault, not because of the jury. The client had misled everybody, and it wasn't related to the case. It was a medical malpractice case. She was severely cut by a doctor, but the defense had her on surveillance. And I believe that after the closing argument, when they rolled in that video and they had her on surveillance, and again, her injuries had nothing to do with, the whole videotape that they had nothing to do with the claim. But Santa Monica jury back then, my lack of getting it came back as a defense verdict. And that was 18 years ago. That was probably a failure that put me back. And I believe some people would have said, I don't want to do it anymore. But to me,
it was your first case, like solo.
It was the first medical malpractice jury trial that I'd done, and it was incredible because it was a good experience. But that loss itself made me realize, not at that moment. I believe it came to me a few years later. I've heard Rabbi Sachs once say, you live your life looking forward, but you understand life looking back. Right. And to me, that loss, for that, maybe I shouldn't say months, maybe for a year, that loss was very severe because, it was a big case of mine. It was a case that I really passionately wanted to win. I was really upset at what the doctor had done to my client. And I wanted to give her everything possible to win the case. And unfortunately, we didn't. But I learned so much from that case. I learned so much from it. And it made me into a better attorney, better person, more compassionate, and moved on.
So let me ask you a question. What about if you won that case? Do you think that would have been better for you to win it or to lose it?
Absolutely not. It would have been better for my client if I would have won it. But now, when I'm sitting 21 years of practicing law, I think that first loss, and when the jury came back to me after the trial, because you sit there and you talk to the jury members, and they said that they wanted to give me a lot of money. But the moment that they saw that the client was not truthful, that they had her on surveillance where she had claimed that she couldn't move her arm, and again, that injury had nothing to do with the case. That moment when they saw her not be truthful, they just changed everything. And now I learned a lot more. I would have made a lot more money if I would have won that case. But as a human being and for experience of life, I learned a lot more from losing the case than winning it.
So pretty much you paid for the experience.
It was a beautiful experience. I wouldn't change it.
Awesome. All right. Third question that we have tonight is, when did you feel that moment of success? Like that feeling, I finally made it. Sometimes we wonder if we can tip the scale in how we're, working or we're studying. We work so hard or we study so hard, and sometimes we just don't get it. But comes that moment everything turns bright, and you're saying, you know what? I think I'm getting it. When did you ever have that experience?
I believe it was about. Actually, it is next year. It's 2018. It is exactly 10 years ago. 10 years ago, I took a case to a binding arbitration, and as probably many of your attorney friends here on Facebook know, Once you lose a binding arbitration, it is next to impossible to reverse it and change the verdict. I went to a binding arbitration and I lost. I didn't lose the entirety of the case. I lost the most important component of it. And despite the fact that my client, my wife, and everybody around me said, give up. And they wanted for my own benefit, because I was really married to this case. I had put a lot of passion and time into it. I didn't give up. I appealed, and I won the appeal, and it became a published opinion. And that was the moment that I realized that both in practice of law and in my own life, I always need to think win-win. That I can win, and at the same time, society can win. That published opinion is case law. I get probably once every 2 weeks, once every 3 weeks, somebody calls me up and asks me questions about the case. And that case has influenced both the law within the state of California, and also has made me into a greater attorney, because it opened up my eyes that, you can lose a case, have the passion and the inspiration to go after it, the belief that you can get a verdict and make it right. And I appealed it. I won, made it into a published opinion, made case law. My client won, I won, people around me won, and that was the moment. It was a great achievement of my 21 years of practicing law. Made me happy.
See what happens when you don't accept the status quo? All right, so one more question we have for Simon tonight is, what advice would you give to others to find success in what they're trying to do? It doesn't have to be they're trying to be a lawyer, a doctor. It could be in any profession, any career. And, from experience, Simon Jun, what would you say? What is it? What would you say is the recipe? What's the advice you give?
There are basically five points that, and many people who know me know that I talk about it. And one of it, you always say in Shir Shirim, Sof Maaseh b'machshava tchila.
By the way, just I have to jump in. In Lecha Dodi, we say Sof Maaseh.
Right.
We say that every time. Very nice.
So begin with the end in mind. Always, whatever you want to do, begin with the end in mind. Know what you want to achieve. Know what's the goal at the end, and then start the process. And makes life easier, makes your goal more achievable. I always believe in, and I talk about this very openly. You should, which is number 2, always have passion for what you do. I came to this beautiful, amazing country. I used to be a photographer. I was a video man, and my first job, I was a shoe salesperson. I would sell shoes. And it wasn't any store. It used to be called Red Cross shoes, and it was shoes for old ladies. and believe it or not, I realized that if I had passion for explaining the shoes and how comfortable they are, that they would buy them from me. And that passion lived through me, and I always say, if you are doing something, do it with passion, and it's successful. Whether it was photography, selling shoes, delivering pizza, whatever it was that I've done in my life before my law school, and before becoming an attorney, I did it with passion. I do my practice of law in passion. I would say the third thing is be proactive. Don't sit back and wait for something to happen. Go out there and get it. My fourth point is definitely for those law students and for young attorneys, is realize that we are creature of habit. You pick up any type of job and you go in it. Just to say, you know what, I want to be there for the next month or 2 months, wrong. Not something smart. Wait for the right job, wait for the right opportunity, then do it, even if it's more difficult, even if it pays you less. but you are a creature of habit. Don't get used to, don't get comfortable to one lousy job just because you want to pass time or just because you want to make a buck. And my last point, which is something that I truly live by, is leave people better than you found them. Always. In whatever you do, practice of law, medicine, you're an accountant, whatever you do in life, whoever you meet, and you go ahead and leave them better than you found them. It makes you feel better, makes yourself feel better, and makes society into a better place. And that's what I live by.
Wow. Well, as you can see here tonight, a lot of great maxims that Simon lives by. And of course, one of the things that I avoided was his complete devotion to Israel, because this video would turn from a 10-minute video to at least a 2.5-hour video. And of course, you can see here that we have someone who's very devoted to his job. He's devoted to his wife and kids and to the community. And he has a lot of passion, as we all know, for what he does. And he only wishes success for all the new generations that we have. And I want to thank him personally, as well as I'm sure others as well who took his words in tonight, for the time set aside tonight. Let me tell you something. He, as you can see, we are at his office right now. He has a case tomorrow. So it shows what devotion is for what you do. And if you really want to get something done, sometimes it takes a little sacrifice. And Simon Jun, you really inspired us tonight. I want to thank you very much, and have a great night, everyone.
Thank you. Good night.
And Laila Tov.